Let's go ahead and check the weather on my new Davis weather station. What's up everyone, Eric with HamRadioConcepts, KJ4YZI. Finally got my video together on my new weather station that I purchased from weathershack.com. I'll show you their site in a minute because weathershack.com made this purchase effortless. And they have a lot of options to make sure that you have the weather station that you want. It's a good investment. It really is a purchase I've always wanted to make. And the Davis line is not something for kids. The Davis line is what professionals use. This primarily is specifically is the Vantage Pro 2 model 6152 wireless precision weather station with the option of the WeatherLink software, which I purchased also. That'll give me the ability to monitor this anywhere I am away from home. So if you're a farmer with crops in another location, or you are a person with a vacation home north or south, you want to check the weather on where that's at, consider one of these. There are a lot of options when choosing a weather station, and I did a lot of Google research, and Google seemed to always lead me in the Vantage Pro 2. When I called Weather Shack and started asking them, and they said, well, what kind of stuff do you do? What are you interested in? They eventually steered me to the Davis Vantage Pro 2. So I kind of put the two together and chose the one that seems to be very common. Now they do have a lot of different options, and I wanted something that was going to last and something that was reputable. Davis, from what I researched online, has a less than a 1% failure rate on their units. So you know these are going to last a long time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the integrated sensor suite here. This is where all the measurements happen. Give you an explanation of each of the sensors and how they work. And then I'll show you the software and the console inside. Show you the console and how the weather instrumentation looks inside. And go over their site, check out the other options they have, and kind of get an idea of why you might need a weather station. Either you clicked on the video because you're interested in getting a weather station, you have a weather station you want to upgrade, or you just never thought of it and you think this is very cool. I think it's cool because I'm a Skywarn weather spotter. I am in ham radio. So you put the two together, and any amateur radio operator with a Skywarn, or even a Skywarn that's not an amateur radio operator, a Skywarn spotter would need a weather station. And we'll go over those reasons in a minute. Let me show you the different aspects of this model 6152 with the sensors on here. Then we'll go into some other stuff. When you're choosing a weather station, you choose the sensors or the sensors for the situation that interest you. When I chose this model, not only from the research I did, but it has an anemometer for wind speed and direction, it has a rainfall collector, and it has a temperature, humidity, and barometric pressure sensor. So with these options here, I can determine a lot of different weather information, but there are other options. They can have other options that plug into this specific model, such as UV index or solar radiation. I didn't think I needed those, but there are options, and then you can step up higher in models than the 6152 and get stuff like soil moisture content, soil moisture sensors, and stuff like that. So I chose the 6152 because I thought really this would be in my best interest for sensors. So let me go through each sensor and show you a key feature on each one and what how they're designed. So the anemometer here, on the box, the picture of the box on the website, and here it looks like the anemometer is attached to this. Really it's not. The anemometer has a 40-foot cable, so you can mount this away from the sensor suite, which is what I plan to do. I plan on using this here probably on the top of my mast where my antenna is to get a more accurate reading for the wind speed and direction above the house and tree line. So this, I just have this temporarily mounted on my MFJ tripod here so that I can show you on video. But this here can be mounted to a piece of wood or pole or anything, but see, this is separate. So you can see here that I have just an ever so slight amount of wind, but this anemometer here really has, I mean, the spinner in here, the bearings on this little sensor are really sensitive. I mean, even with a slightest wind, you can get that moving, so it doesn't take a lot of wind. That's what makes it more accurate. And it just spins so freely. There's like no resistance. Must be some really good bearings in there. And this is a very low failure rate spot right here from what I read online. If this does happen to get clogged up with bugs or any kind of cobwebs or anything under there, you want to make sure you clean those out so that it can operate like it should. And the wind direction up here, the same way. This thing, just a slight breeze will turn to the direction of the wind. And you can see right now the wind's a couple miles an hour, but I barely feel it, you know. So I mean, this thing really picks up wind very well. And they do recommend in the manual to mount this up higher than the sensor suite, because some people don't want to put the sensor suite 50 feet in the air. Instead, you put the anemometer 40 feet in the air and keep this a little bit lower, because really all this needs to do is get the temperature and the rainfall and some solar power. So that's a good thing there. Or you can mount it here if you wanted to keep that temporarily on a tripod, or if you wanted to keep it somewhere you don't have a mast at your house, you can keep this mounted just like this. So the next thing to talk about is the temperature and humidity sensor down below. Now, the way this works is this is a radiation shield that basically allows just this little amount of wind to pass through here, air pass through here, so that your temperature sensor stays more relative to the ambient temperature, not radiated heat from the sun beating on this unit. Okay, if you've ever gotten a car and you start your car at work in the parking lot, it says 105 on the thermometer until you start driving, then it comes down. That's because of the heat beating off that metal in that car. It raises the temperature. So what this does is the little amount of air that can move through here, it vents it so that you have a really precise reading on the temperature in the air, instead of the built up heat from this thing being black and an enclosed temperature sensor. It keeps the air moving through here. And the humidity sensor and barometric sensor is under here also, but I don't think those are as much affected by the heat buildup as the temperature sensor is. Now, in an area where you don't have a breeze or any moving air at all for some time, they do make a 24-hour solar-powered fan aspirated radiator shield down here, which would keep air moving through that with a solar panel 24 hours a day, with a battery also, so that the air will move through here just slightly enough to where it'll give you an accurate reading and not build up. And those are areas, again, where you don't have a lot of wind movement. Over here by the river, I always have some sort of breeze. That's why I didn't opt for that. I didn't purchase that unit because I didn't need it. If I was somewhere in a valley or somewhere in a desert behind mountains where it was constantly stifling hot, I may have chose that option. So I didn't choose that option. So you want to make sure that this stays clean also, because bugs do like to get up into here from what I read. You want to keep that clean so that it operates as it should. So the rain collector up top, you'll notice I put these spikes in here that come with it. These are bird spikes. They say optional, but you want to make sure, I say, you have them on, because you don't want the birds sitting on here and pretending this is a toilet, okay? The rain goes in here and you got to keep that free of debris. So this keeps the birds off of it, as well as the droppings on the sides. So you want to keep these on. But the rain's going to go in here, and let me switch camera views and I'll show you what's under this here. And the rain collector, when you take this part off, it unscrews. Okay, and here is the little rain collector mechanism. So it's calibrated precisely at the factory per 100th inch. So when the rain comes through, it's going to fill this tipper up, and it tips over and empties out. Every time that happens, there's a little sensor on the bottom here that it passes by. But then you'll see if you get another amount of rain, the tipper goes back over. You don't ever want to touch the sensor in the very bottom there, and you want to keep an eye on this bubble level. Bubble level is very important, because if this is not level, it's not going to empty as it should. So it may take longer or not as long to empty. If this is cocked over to one way, it might take a couple inches before this thing fills up and moves over. So make sure this is level and free of debris here so that it operates as it should. And then the top of the ring collector here, see there's a screen in there also that comes out and gets cleaned. So keep that free of leaves and bugs and anything else that might be in there. So this is your main brain here, okay? You'll notice the wireless antenna to transmit to the inside console. And this is where all the electronics are kept. You'll see the solar panel. So the solar panel, this is how this works. The solar panel collects light for energy during the day, and it's constantly powering the unit and storing it in a capacitor inside here. When the sun goes behind clouds, the capacitor will pick up, and that capacitor can hold power for several hours, many hours, to keep this thing running. So then when the sun comes back out, this replenishes the capacitor and starts powering the unit again. But at night, there's a battery in here, a lithium battery, model 123, like a very common battery, which I'll show you here right now. So here is the Duracell lithium battery that it comes with, that are very easily found, okay? And the battery will go up in here. To remove this solar panel and show you the other things on this real quick. So you want to make sure this stays weather tight with the seal. In case you open this, you want to make sure it's closed properly. And here's where your sensors plug in. So I have temperature, humidity plugged in, wind, and rain. And you can also plug in the sun and UV sensors on this model. This would be your port for your wired unit. I have the wireless, so nothing's plugged into here. And really nothing you need to really mess with in here other than when you plug in your sensors like I did for the wind. It routes up through here, and make sure this little grommet here is packed tight closed with the little rubber piece that comes with it so that bugs don't get up in here and short out electronics and moisture doesn't accumulate in here. And then your wireless antenna, and this is what's basically transmitting to your inside unit. So that's how that works. Some people say, well, that battery will have to be changed every month. No, it'll run a long time. It doesn't really require that much power, and I think the capacitor will hold this unit most of the night before the sun comes back up and charges. And if for some reason there is no sun for days on end, this battery will pick up on it. So that's the inside of the control panel and the solar panel. And when you put this back on, just make sure that it is sealed properly. Kind of has a little cutouts on the side where you can go like that, and that's it. It's back on. Cool. So let's take a look now at the console inside and see all the measurements from this, and we'll take a look at the software too and get an idea of what that's all about. Alright, let's take a quick look at the console for the Vantage Pro 2. So this console, nice backlit display, wireless. This is the wireless console, or else if you bought the cabled version, you'd have the cabled console. Runs on 3 C batteries, and you want to make sure you have good quality C batteries because they do say good quality batteries will last in this unit about 9 months, depending on how you use the backlight. One thing about the backlight is if you have this on for a long time like I have noticed that the internal temperature of the unit goes up a couple degrees, and that's why you're seeing the temperature inside is 83. It's actually 80 in here, but I've had this light on for a while. Just take note of that. So looking at this console, it's more than just a display. It holds a lot of trending information and a lot of good features in here. Let me go over it. So you have your compass rose with the wind direction and speed. Okay. Up top you have your moon phase, your time, and your date. Now, when you first get this, you want to set it up with your latitude, longitude, sea level, or above, distance above sea level, and other information that you're going to set up first. So that way, it knows the rain seasons. It knows the most accurate barometric pressure based on sea level, and it also knows your moon phase and sunrise and sunset and all that stuff based on your coordinates, latitude and longitude. Temperature outside, humidity outside, barometric pressure. From my understanding now, the barometric pressure sensor is actually in this console. I did say that it was in the outside sending unit, the sensor suite, but it's actually inside. And I asked weathershack.com, and immediately they did say that's how a lot of them are designed. So it's not just Davis. I'm not sure why they do that, but I guess that's a common thing. Maybe someone can comment below and describe that. But basically, your barometric pressure sensors in here. And then you have temperature inside, humidity inside, and chill. And daily rain or rain storm. And for instance, here on the bottom left here, a daily rain or rain storm. So I guess it calculates the rain you're getting from the storms, and then it averages the rain for the day. So if it rains a couple times within a 24-hour period, it would say, well, the rain from the storms would be X amount, and the daily rain total would be this amount. Over here, the rain for the year, rain rate inches per hour, and the rain for the month. So I love when people say, oh, it's raining 10 inches an hour here. Well, now you can really see what the rain is. Or, what's interesting is sometimes the weather station will tell you that they picked up 3 inches at the airport, but at your house 4 miles away, you didn't get that much rain. So at least you can see with this, if you have a garden or you're away from home several weeks out of the month or several days out of the week, you can see, wow, I really did get 3.5 inches here. You can cut the sprinklers back. Or you did get hardly any rain at all, and you need to turn it up, despite what your neighbors say, because those neighbors are always telling the truth. You can see exactly what the rainfall is in your yard, okay, or business or wherever. Over here on the chart here, so this is like a last 24-hour average graph, or just 24-hour graph. So if I click on wind here, you can see the graph over here shows me the last 24 hours, the wind speed, probably at 24 hours from now. So it went down during the night to 0, and now it's only at 1 mile an hour. But you can see down here it throws a little message in the ticker tape, 10-minute average wind speed, 1 mile an hour. Okay, so great to see the average wind speed if it's a windy day. But this graph works for other modes like temperature. Check this out. So the last 24 hours, look at the temperature. You can see about this time yesterday, then it went down to the evening, and now it's way back up. And look what the ticker message says. High heat index advisory. So it's calculating from the temperature and the humidity outside what the heat index would be, and it's coming up to a high alert, so it knows that you have a high heat index. The same thing would probably happen if you had a really low temperature with a high wind speed and a high wind chill factor. You'd probably get a wind chill advisory on here. Same thing for rain. Now I haven't had any rain yet since this has been up, but it would show your rain average on the graph, or your display, your rainfall for the 24 hours in the graph. Okay, so it logs a lot of this information, up to 100 ticker messages in the bottom, and alerts for, like you saw, the rainfall alerts, flash flood warning. If you get 5 inches in an hour, it may show up a message down here that says flood warning. Now, this is not a supplement for a weather alert station or a weather alert radio. You must have a weather radio. Anybody should have one. Everybody should have one. Check the batteries off. And that's a video coming up for those who are not aware. A weather radio will save your life, especially in the middle of the morning or middle at night when you're sleeping. I'm going to show a couple of the technologies about those and where the technology is and how it works on weather radios. Okay, but this will at least give you an alert down here and tell you, hey, the temperature's hot, or you got a lot of rain coming. There's a flood warning. So very cool. And also, Davis gives you the option to. This is again the wireless model. I'm about, I'd say 150, 200 feet from my weather sensor suite outside. So I'm 1, 2, 3 walls inside plus my concrete wall outside, and I have no problem receiving this signal. So the block walls are outside, and inside I have plaster on the walls. So it's not doing bad at all through all that stuff inside. But if you say, well, this is not going to work in my distance, they do say 1,000 feet line of sight. But they do make wireless repeaters for this and range extenders so that you can use this console at a further range, okay? And you can use multiple repeaters with multiple consoles. So you could have this console in the weather shack, you could have one in the living room, one in the garage, and tie all those to one sensor suite outside. A very cool feature. I think Weather Shack does have the repeaters. I didn't look into them because I didn't need one, but I'm pretty sure on their site they should have those options for the range extenders and multiple consoles. So you can name them Console 1, Console 2. So really cool. The console here is also connected, which I'm about to show you, with the software and my data logger, which plugs into the back. And that's generating all this analytics for the last how many hours and days into the software on my computer. So when I'm uploading to WeatherLink, it's got all this information stored in here, and it's, or Weather Underground, weatherlink.com, wherever you're uploading your information is stored in this console. So a very cool console here that keeps you informed. Skywarn, you don't have to be an amateur radio operator for it. Skywarn is something that the National Weather Service relies on for eyes on the ground and conditions at certain places where they can't tell from their weather or their radar. So the National Weather Service can actually call upon me and say, hey, Eric, we think you might have a possible rotation there. We need some weather, we need some weather data from your area. And guess what wouldn't be beneficial for them is if I went on my phone on an app and pulled up the weather of the airport 10 miles from me. They want to know what the weather is at my house. And I want to know what the weather at my house, because how many people have seen this on the news?
To mid-range of the 90s. I'm being a little conservative here with the numbers. They could go even higher, especially with a southwesterly flow. Historically, that really heats up the Palm Beaches and the Treasure Coast. The hot weather, here it is, everybody. The hottest day so far this year, 91 at Palm Beach International this afternoon, above average, not far from the record. Morning low of 69, and temperatures across the rest of the area too hot, too soon, right? Today was the heat. Record high in Vero Beach, 95. The high at Palm Beach International, 90. Tomorrow, it's more potentially record-breaking heat.
Okay, and all those, the news station's great, but guess where the news station gets their readings? From other weather sources or weather stations at different places. Most likely the airport or other places that have remote monitoring, and the weather station collects that data and puts it together. But instead of relying on the local weatherman to give you an idea, when you say, what do you mean it's not raining? It's pouring at my house. Well, right here we'll tell you exactly how much rain. Or if they say, well, the winds are going to be 30 to 35 miles an hour when the storm comes through, and much like myself, I lost my ham radio tower, which was blown into the power lines. And nobody said anything, but I guarantee if I had this set up that year, I might have had a 70 or 80 mile an hour straight line wind, and I could have been able to see exactly which way it came from, and I could have reported that to the National Weather Service in order for them to roll back the radar and get some other data measurements, and they could have seen, wow, you know what, you had a slight rotation or maybe a tornado that maybe touched ground, but the weather station never told me anything. Now this is something else I picked up with this that I think a lot of people should consider. This is the Davis WeatherLink data logger and software, and what this basically does is ties my console to the internet, so that way I can participate and upload my statistics to the Davis WeatherLink site, which I'll show you in a minute how many thousands of stations around the United States are doing the exact same thing. Weatherlink.com, click on the station map up here in the top right. The link is in the description of this video. Look at all these stations. When you sum this up and you go just to Florida, watch how many stations are in Florida. Look at this. 49 right here. Look at this. Clicking on any one of them gives you a quick glimpse of the video. But look at this. 25,237 active stations reporting. This is not just me doing this. There's a lot of people that are, and this is just people on the internet with the software, not the people that are using it without internet. Alright, so the software I got loaded up, I got the station set up with it, I got the data logger plugged into the unit, and I got to make an online account for the login for WeatherLink. But basically this is giving you, here's a snapshot of what's going on your console and your station. So kind of acting like a second console. You know, I can have this running on a local area network on a computer on the opposite side of the house and see what's going on. So I can use this, like leave the console by the modem in one room and then have this running, the software running on another PC in the other side of the house and use it that way. Or you can do a lot of setting up here, and this hasn't been on too long. I just installed it not too long ago, so I don't even have a forecast yet. But it'll show you trends, you know, like a 3-day span of temperature, wind speed, barometric pressure, you know, different stuff like rain, you know, rainfall per month, per year, so minimum, max, average, different rainfall events. And there's no data for me to plot in here yet, but you know, over time it'll get the data, and then you can download it. And also, this is going to be, you set up an interval to automatically upload to the site, and you would probably use this software to establish a connection with Weather Underground. I haven't played with Weather Underground, but a lot of people are reporting their weather stations, so I'll be checking that out. Maybe that'll be a video in the future, who knows. But you know, the software is really good to have to see what's going on with the weather and the trends. And right here it shows you outside temperature, I guess that'd be the heat index, the wind chill, the dew point, and the inside temperature. Humidity inside and outside. Total rainfall for the month and the year. Current wind speed, wind direction. So this would be your barometric pressure. So this is where you would watch, you know, the time over X amount of hours where the barometric pressure may fall in the time that you had that storm. You know, here's the first plot here. So over a set interval, you'll see a graph here of the barometric pressure. And then forecast says it needs at least 3 hours of data. But right now on my Davis, it now shows me my 10-minute average wind speed is 4 miles an hour. So today, the average wind speed is 4. But on a day where it's real windy, at 20, 25, it may say my average is 20, 22 miles an hour every 10 minutes or every half hour. So it's got to run for a while to really get those statistics going. I always get people that ask, where did you get it? Show me a link. Where can I have a link? Well, it's in the description, but here it is again, weathershack.com. I want to thank them for the guy's name was Wes that I talked to, and man, that guy answered every question I had and was just happy to do that. So I really appreciate their time and effort in making this purchase. And they're 35,000 reviews, 5-star rating. They have a Facebook with almost 19,000 views or likes. So they really know how to get you in with the best purchase that you can make on your first or next weather station, and get you in with the tools. If you're thinking about Skywarn, or you're thinking about being a weather enthusiast or having fun or making it a profession, this is where I would come again. I'm definitely satisfied. Same day shipping. Actually, I ordered it in an evening, so it shipped the following day, but it says here fast same day shipping. So if you're ordering it that morning, it may ship that night. So check out weathershack.com. The link is in the description. Well, everyone, that's the end of this video, but I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed putting it together. This is going to be really cool over these next few months in the summer to check out the storm season. But I hope that you subscribe to my channel. I hope you liked this video. Comment below if you did. Give me a thumbs up. Check me out on Facebook. Share with other Facebook groups. And if you find anything you like on my channel or learned something in the past, consider a small donation to support my cause and my channel. That way I can get better gear like this into better videos for you. Thanks for watching again, and 7-3 from KJ4YZI.